You know those major life challenges we all face? A tough situation, a painful memory? Our first instinct is usually to just fight it, right? To try and force the problem away. But what if there's a better way, a more graceful, and honestly, a more effective way to find some peace? Well, that's exactly what the displacement strategy is all about.
But have you ever noticed this? It's a super frustrating cycle. You pour all your energy into fixing something you don't want in your life, only to find it just looms larger. It feels more complex, more tangled than ever before. So why does that happen? Well, the answer comes down to a really simple but powerful principle about where we put our focus.
This right here, this is the key to everything we're about to talk about. It's this core idea that explains why trying so hard to eliminate a problem can completely backfire. See, when your focus is locked onto the thing you're trying to get rid of, you're actually just feeding it your energy, making it bigger and bigger in your mind.
All right, so let's really dig into this. What exactly goes wrong with that direct, head-on approach? I mean, it feels like the right thing to do, but it's often the very thing that keeps us stuck.
You know, the source material brings up this great analogy from the movie The Core, where the team literally has to save the entire planet. When we focus on getting rid of a really deep-seated issue, it can feel just as massive. The scale of it all just becomes overwhelming, you know? It can even be paralyzing. And that's exactly why we need a totally different way to look at it.
So, this brings us to the big aha moment of this whole explainer. It's a complete shift in perspective. Instead of trying to eliminate the challenge, we're going to learn how to displace it.
And here's what that looks like side by side. The old way, elimination, it's a direct fight, right? It's this external battle that's totally focused on the negative. But the new way, displacement, that's an internal process. It's all about nurturing the positive until it just naturally pushes the negative out. See the difference? It's not a fight, it's a cultivation.
Okay, so what is this strategy exactly? Let's go ahead and put a formal name to this really powerful idea.
Now, this is so important. You're not ignoring the problem. Not at all. You're just actively building something way more powerful right next to it. You're creating an inner environment that's so full of what you do want that there's just no room left for what you don't.
So here's how it actually plays out. First, you start really small, nurturing a positive feeling, kind of like getting a little fire going. Then, as you keep tending to that fire, it gets bigger, it builds momentum, and that is the force that starts to push the challenge out from the inside. Your job totally changes. You're no longer fighting the problem. You're just managing its exit.
Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it? I mean, how do you start nurturing that positive inner fire in your actual day-to-day life?
The secret is to start small, so small. You don't have to feel 100% peaceful overnight. The whole thing starts with just a taste, a tiny flavoring of peace, a minuscule moment of relief. It's about collecting these little wins, and that's what starts to shift the whole balance inside.
So what does this look like? Honestly, it could be anything that works for you. Maybe it's walking in nature, or losing yourself in some music, or reading a really inspiring book. It could be painting, running, heck, it could even just be sitting under your favorite tree. The activity itself isn't really the point. It's all about the feeling it helps you cultivate inside.
Because ultimately, this is what we're after. This is the goal. This isn't about distraction, right? It's about actively nurturing these core states of being: peace, relaxation, stillness, and that deep down feeling that it's going to be okay. These are the feelings that have the power to displace the old challenges.
And to really get just how incredible the mechanism behind this is, the source material gives us this really powerful metaphor. It perfectly explains how a gentle internal process can overcome these massive, seemingly impossible obstacles.
So think about it this way. The old way, trying to eliminate a problem, that's like taking a hammer to a giant rock. You can just exhaust yourself and barely even make a dent. But the displacement strategy, that's totally different. It's like water seeping into a tiny crack. It's subtle, it's gentle, but it has immense power.
So picture this giant rock, okay? That rock is your biggest challenge. It seems solid, unbreakable. But there's always a starting point, right? A tiny, minuscule crack. And that crack, that's your first moment of peace. That first little flavoring of relief. And the water, that's every single thing you do to nurture your well-being. Every walk, every song, every quiet moment you give yourself. It just flows into that crack effortlessly, filling up the space.
And here it is. This is the payoff.
As you consistently nurture that positive inner state, it builds on itself, it expands, and just like water freezing into ice, that gentle internal pressure becomes so incredibly powerful it can snap the biggest, most stubborn rock in two from the inside out.
Now, it's really important to remember this. Simple does not mean easy. Consistently choosing to nurture the positive when the negative feels so loud and so present, that takes real commitment. The source is very clear about this. This could be the most challenging work you ever do, but it's also the most effective.
So, this leaves us with the most important question of all. The goal isn't just to understand this idea, it's to actually apply it. And you don't need to solve everything today. You just need to find one tiny crack, one minuscule moment. So, what is one small thing, one tiny thing you can start nurturing right now to create a feeling of peace, no matter how quick it is? Because that is where the real change begins.